we have a really awesome episode. Matt, great get, is Mr. Super Testnet himself, and he has a wealth of knowledge in the Bitcoin space, and he is just very well read and very well researched on the subject. It's been a long time coming. I'm glad we were able to get somebody who is a Bitcoin expert, so to speak, or at
Yeah.
least somebody who's building on Bitcoin. Even more of a rare breed for people who are trying to learn more about the space. So I don't know what you guys thought of the episode, but I was very intrigued and just wanted to ask him a lot more questions than time allotted. But yeah, that was some of my thoughts.
Definitely. Yeah, I don't know if we can call him a Bitcoin OG because he wasn't quite contributing back then, but
Sure.
he was on the forums at the same time that Satoshi was still around, and he was like one of the original three guys working on Nostr, and anyway, just incredibly smart guy, incredibly talented, and has made just a lot of I think not very well known, but he's made a lot of contributions.
A
To
great
the
person to
space.
tap into someday if we do an episode that's deep diving on Satoshi himself as the person,
Yeah.
Yeah, we
future episode.
need to get Nick Sabo on the podcast.
True.
Supposedly that guy's gone ghost. I was in Brantley Space the other day, and people say like they haven't heard from him in like months. So he seems
Oh
like
wow.
he's disappeared. But we had a great episode, and maybe this is a good time to mention a new format. How we're gonna split the. If you're watching on YouTube, you're gonna watch this news segment on its own, and then we'll link over to the main episode. Is what we'll do. So you can
Audio
see Super
audio
Test.
will stay the same. Yeah, audio will stay the same. Which
Just click right
honest,
here for the episode.
we need to get to that point where we can kind of put up that graphic, like comment, subscribe, like all the nuances. And speaking of which, if you're watching this on the YouTube, if you haven't liked, comment, review, subscribed, please do. What are you doing here? If you have, we're trying to grow this thing like anybody else on this platform. So any support would be appreciated. So with that being said, um, let's dive into the news. Let's get into this while the subject is fresh here. The Curve hacker, hacker attacker, whatever you want to call him, started returning stolen funds after the bounty was issued by the projects or by the Curve Collective, essentially. He's returned. It saw something about him returning close to $9 million in Ethereum. I'm not. How much did he actually steal, though? Was it? It was way
I
more
guess
than that, wasn't it?
it seems like it was 50 to 60 million,
Yeah, that's what I thought the number was.
which interestingly is not the vast majority of like Curve's total locked value.
No.
It's a huge lending protocol. I think they have over $1 billion worth of assets locked up. And so, it's more than a drop in the bucket, right? But it has not all gone. This is not an FTX level of collapse, but yeah, interesting that he started returning things. We were just discussing trying to figure out, was it the Curve team saying, hey, we won't press charges if you give us most of it back, or what it was. But
I have seen some people think that it's an insider.
Ooh,
Yeah, I
yeah,
guess
'cause Curve,
because the Curve founder put up a bunch of money to support basically the token's price, and then after that happens, so he's basically having to buy in at a very low price, and then after that, the hackers returning all the funds. I don't know, just a lot of correlation. Then you also wonder about tax implications, but maybe that gets a little too conspiratorial. But I
yeah,
think
no,
the
true.
biggest problem people have with the story is not just that the hack happened, but that it came out that the founder, whoever founded Curve, is sitting on like over 40% of the supply. So a very big risk. And if he were to get liquidated, see, that's the problem. If he were to get liquidated, it would have caused a chain of reactions that could really impact all of DeFi, honestly, not just Curve. So, and I feel like we run into so many of these things. You know, people say the same thing about USDT. Chris Black, popular Twitter profile. He was saying, you know, there's like one person in Chainlink who could just nuke that, and that, you know, that nukes everything here in Web3. So
I'm looking at some stuff. I'm looking at some stuff that says Michael Agroff, the founder of Curve, is currently has 65.34 million in debt across multiple protocols. So,
well, I think his loan was like 100 million.
Yeah, so he's definitely selling assets to pay some of that debt.
And his loan that he took against
this could be risky.
Yeah, the loan that he took against his tokens, he bought like 2 mansions. So
I just don't. This never ends well for people. Last I checked, if we were to just kind of gauge what's going on, and I'm just looking at what Look On Chain tweeted about him. So this is on X or Twitter for anybody to find. But yeah, that's a lot of debt.
Yeah. Well, the story is going to develop, but it does seem like the hacker is returning. We'll see if he returns all the funds, but at least a portion of the funds are being returned, which is good. But even if he hadn't returned the funds, enough people have stepped in that the issue, you know, the crypto apocalypse has been averted for yet another few more days. So
yeah. Great reminder that we're in a very experimental space, and that, you know, if you put all your eggs in one basket, whether that basket is FTX or Terra Luna or Curve potentially, or the DAO or any of these things, right? It's risky place.
Absolutely.
Still the Wild West.
Want to get into Worldcoin again? This is still in the news.
Yeah.
No, not really, but we can.
I thought this was a hilarious article that you shared there, Matt.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I don't know. I've got some thoughts here, but yeah. So Kenya, as a country, has, like, the government has kind of stopped Worldcoin from operating in the country, right? The orb scanning people's irises. You know, people were lining up, huge lines. I've heard this in other African countries as well. Everybody's looking for a few bucks, and you know, they don't mind selling their data. But yeah. Connor, what was so funny about it?
Well, I shared a couple tweets on my well, whatever you want to call them, tweets on X, I guess. But so one of the quotes was somebody who was standing in line to get his tokens, because I guess there's long lines, and he had to come back a couple days. But his quote was, what was this? It was right here. I really like Worldcoin because of the money. I'm not worried about the data being taken as long as the money comes. So these are Kenyans that obviously I think one of the guys was saying, like, I don't have a job, I just need the money. I want, you know, this is my second day coming out, and now Kenya is shutting it down because obviously they're trying to take care of their citizens, and they don't think the citizens are taking care of themselves. So,
yeah,
but,
it's interesting, right? Is you know, I mean, is Worldcoin exploiting all of these people in developing countries and third world countries, you know, who would, you know, give up their data for a quick buck? I was thinking about this earlier today. It feels a little bit, you know, the whole play to earn phenomenon that went on a few years ago with, like, Axie Infinity and all these players in the Philippines, you know, and it's interesting. I don't quite know where I sit on it, you know. I mean, and maybe this personal data is a different story than just, you know, playing a video game for money. But you know, when it came to the play to earn thing, really the people who benefited from it were either early adopters or these people in the Philippines who were playing it because they were essentially just extracting value from the whole ecosystem, right? They were getting paid without putting any money up front, and so anyway, like it really it helped distribute wealth to that country, and so it is the WorldCoin injection of funds at the individual level, right? We've heard you may have heard of corruption at the like higher level, right, where like government funds don't actually go to the citizens. I don't know. I'm not sure where I sit on it, right?
Well, I mean, this is kind of an interesting conversation, and I want to follow WorldCoin more because people talk about the data privacy concerns, and looking at it, it doesn't look like there's really that much data privacy, right? Issues because it uses zero knowledge proofs. So this orb is capturing your biometric data. Yes, it's confirming that you're a human, and then it's assigning you a number, a label, a cryptographic proof that this is one person. It doesn't even tie it to the biometric data. It just assigns it to you. And because you were issued it when it could prove that you are one singular human being, then, that's your proof of humanity there. And then the biometric data is deleted. And they don't have any other information about you. They don't ask your name. They don't ask your email. So at best, this token proves that you at one time did look into an orb, and it confirmed that you were a single person that had never registered before, and it gave you a unique ID. And so then you can go on to other applications and sign it basically using this zero knowledge proof technology with this proof that, yes, I am a human, and you don't have to divulge any other information about yourself. So from a data privacy standpoint, it seems great. So that was my curiosity. I'm like, well, what's the issue with this? Because I do have, well, one issue is you look into the orb, it takes your biometric data, and then you do have to trust that they delete that data after they assign you the ID. Maybe they don't. Mm-hmm. But even if they don't, they have your biometric data. They have a scan of your eyeball, but they don't have any other information about you. So the data is kind of useless unless they can tie it to your identity, your IRL identity somehow, right?
Yeah.
So I don't really see that as an issue. But I did ask Chris Bleck because he did a Twitter questionnaire thing today. I don't know if you saw that, but I was asking him his thoughts because he's obviously very anti-WorldCoin. And I'm like, I know this guy understands zero knowledge proofs. So based off of your knowledge, it's not storing data. What's your issue with it? And his issue, which makes a lot of sense to me, is that now they have the ability, because we invented zero knowledge proofs and because of everything else that we invented in crypto here, like they basically have the ability to say, you can no longer participate in such and such activity unless you verify that you have this WorldCoin ID, right? So we're essentially building gates into all of our technology, or at least the ability to make gates. So now, all these institutions can implement gates through zero knowledge proofs, and we've given them that ability. So I don't know. I mean, is that big of a problem? What can we do about it?
Yeah. Which still, I mean, are gates a good thing, right? Is it good to be able to say, I don't want any bot or AI to interact with this thing. I only want unique humans too. And that was the original rationale for WorldCoin and for these world IDs that you get, is that, this is supposed to be AI resistant, right? This is your proof, your digital proof, your digital signature that proves you are a human, right? I mean, in a sense, it's the blue check mark, except instead of, proof of payment, on X, I wonder if they're going to go to black check marks because they're kind of rebranding away from the blue. Anyway, but this is your proof of humanity. I don't know where I stand on it. I mean, I think my skepticism comes from this being. I don't know. I guess I need to look into it more. Is this a private corporation? Even if it's not, Sam Altman went from OpenAI. The original idea was open source AI, and they're like, no, we're closing this off. We're not sharing this with anybody, and so I'd worry about that. I worry about different groups who have invested into this WorldCoin project, right? Why is there an investment? Like, why would you expect a return on investment from all of this
Right.
stuff going on? If it was in a more decentralized system, like the way Bitcoin was rolled out, or the way that, whatever, anything, Nostr, right?
We should do a separate episode on this because there's like
Sure,
just
yeah,
enough here to talk about. Like, because I do want to talk about so much more, but
yeah.
And
to your point, one more thing to say.
this can go into what it like the study of human behavior and how much Facebook has invested in terms of being able to track our off Facebook data. Like that's insane how much of our information Facebook can retract just by us having an account and interacting with our IP alone.
Well, just one more thing too about that though is that you asked like how do they expect to get a profit from this? Because this is something else that I've read and it makes a lot of sense as well. Like in some ways, this is a cash grab. They invented the Worldcoin token. It's the same thing as Tornado Cash inventing Torn, or maybe even honestly ENS creating, ENS, right? Not the protocol, but the actual token. It's like, oh, we need money. We invent a token. Everybody buys into it, and we just invented a bunch of liquidity for ourselves. So yeah, all these people investing in WorldCoin, not because the project can actually provide money, but because the token itself is going, everybody gets $50 of WorldCoin token.
Yeah.
And for OpenAI, and this isn't even that conspiratorial, like that's just an injection of money for them to continue funding their AI protocols, which are not profitable right now either. Like they just need money. And it's a liquidity grab.
Yeah. So anyway, other news. I know Connor, you have been following the unstoppable domains and ENS stuff that's going on since you mentioned them.
Yeah, just the quick story is that unstoppable domains and ENS are essentially competitors, even though we live in a Web3 world, right, where everything's decentralized. Like, how can you have competitors? Well, they're competing. And Unstoppable Domains wants to put out a proposal to basically remove registration fees from ENS. And because it's Web3, they totally can. So even though they offer, in many ways, competing services, I guess that's what they're going to do, is they're going to put out a proposal that basically says, hey, we don't need any registration fees for ENS. And, ENS will vote on it. I doubt it will pass. But it is an interesting thought. One, does ENS really need the registration fees? Because that's the whole argument for the DAO. And that's why the DAO is so active, because they maintain that, basically. So if you remove that, you remove the DAO, and it makes ENS more decentralized, really. But then the other thing is Unstoppable Domains can just put out a proposal and sink their competitor. So it's just ironic.
Yeah. No, it is a good question, and I don't know. I mean, DNS works this way, right? You have a fee that you pay. If we have a website, if we had a cryptoconversion.com, we would have to pay $6 every year, whatever the fee is. I don't know. I in a sense, I almost think that it keeps ENS decentralized, because you can't have people squatting on, it's a squat fee.